Hello everyone, we're going to be dumping you in right at the start in the middle of an absolute hellstorm of DPS here because both teams have decided to bring absolute monster armor-based brawling comps and just warp them in at 0 right on top of each other, and this is a complete man-fight brawl. We've got V0LTA bringing in what I have to describe as the modern Octodad comp. Only a single logistic ship and it's a frigate, and the rest of their stuff is just pure DPS, bringing in 4 battle cruisers, 3 heavy assault cruisers, a Vedmak, a Thorax, and a Thalia, and that's going up against 7-SINS. Bazzy, why don't you describe to me what remains of this 7-SINS comp?
Well, I mean, we were going to run you down the ship lineups, but I mean, this match started very, very quickly, and with 7-SINS bringing 4 battleships, a Vindicator, a Navy Megathron, and a Praxis, all at 0, there is an immense amount of DPS going from each team to the other, and this is going to be a very, very fast match, I would expect, as the 7-SINS already losing their Thorax and both Logi frigates, and now a Vedmak as well.
Yeah, this is an absolute just swarm. They're getting completely just overrun here by these battle cruisers. They're obviously trying to break down that Brutix, but they have so little application with these battleships. With all their support dead, how are they supposed to even hit these things? They're just tearing apart everything on the grid like a swarm of piranhas. And whilst they still have that huge top end, nearly, you know, almost 3/4 of their points of 7-SINS in those 4 remaining top-end ships. So this isn't quite over yet, but it's looking bleak as hell for them right now because V0LTA is clearing up all their support.
Yeah, it's absolutely a bold strat to bring 80 points in these 4 ships, because then you've only got obviously 20 left for the remaining 6, so that's going to make your support wing fairly weak, and you know it's going to melt. You aren't going to get any Tech 2 resists from AFs or from tactical destroyers or ships like that. You're probably not going to have much in the way of utility as well from recons or other, you know, other Tech 3s or, for example, shit like that. So yeah, you're going to have just massive DPS as long as they can get on top of things. But these battle cruisers, they're having a difficult time getting on top of them. It's not easy at all. And you know, the massive DPS potential, as you can see from the attack bar on the 7-SINS side, is just not being fulfilled. And in fact, V0LTA are applying much more DPS at the moment, even with on paper a much less damaging comp.
Yeah, if you take a look at this from the top round, you can actually see what V0LTA here are doing with this Brutix. They're making sure he's keeping up perfect transversal. They're keeping this Thalia on top of him. They're making sure to kill off all these drones around him. They're doing everything they can to make sure this Brutix lives as long as possible. They're probably going to get to trade this single Brutix for an entire Megathron, and that's just crippling if you're 7-SINS. They're also jamming out the Vindicator and the Praxis. That's always been the hard counter to these kind of comps, is jamming them. Because you take out one ship and suddenly the whole idea doesn't work.
Yeah, I feel like these 4 battleship comps just commit so heavily into the top end that you just have such glaring weaknesses that it's almost rock, paper, scissorsy. Whereas if the opponent brings something that plays into your style, you can absolutely melt through them. But if they don't and they bring something that counters you, then you're going to have a very, very hard time doing anything of any note at all, really.
Yeah, this comp though from VOLTA is something that I think we're going to see again and again and again until it starts getting banned out. This looks super, super strong from VOLTA. 3 ADC, you know, that's 45 seconds of combined invulnerability across 3 incredibly high DPS ships, and the rest of it is boosts and like a little bit of support in that Vedmak Thorax. This is an incredibly aggressive comp from VOLTA, and one I'd expect to see them field again. And I'd expect to see other teams start to pick this one up.
Yeah, on paper, I'd say it's very, very strong. I mean, you've got the links from the 4 battle cruisers, so they're going to all be very, very tanky. You've got the 3 hacks as well, again, very, very tanky. So what do you primary feel the 7-SINS side if you can actually manage to get on anything at all with your lack of support wing? I mean, whatever you shoot is going to take a year to kill, and it's probably not going to be a favourable trade in the end anyway.
No, absolutely not. Like, the extra, you know, 30 to 40,000 EHP that you typically get on a battleship just doesn't make up the points difference of bringing 3 or 4 extra high DPS core ships. And that's what we saw here. You know, even though 7-SINS had on paper relatively good stats, it just wasn't nearly as good a stats as what the VOLTA team brought. If you're going to bring a ball of stats, it has to be the Octodad style comp.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, with the 6, they've got these 6 support wing, but it's all Tech 1 ships. They've got the Vedmak, the Thorax, the Vexor, the Punisher. I mean, all of these things are just going to melt as soon as they get even, you know, stroked by any of these VOLTA ships. And after that, you're just sitting there. You've got these short-range battleships in the middle of the arena, just, you know, kind of helpless. There's not a huge amount they can do to get on these battle cruisers flying around and, you know, running rings around them. And as the Navy Megathron's gun power goes down, it's just the Vindicator left of toxic SE7EN. And yeah, this was quite I mean, probably not as fast as I would have expected seeing these comps lining up with the 4 battleships, but definitely quite a fast-paced match for these pilots.
No, and I think something to highlight here was just the incredible individual piloting from V0LTA to make sure that these battleships had no impact on the match. All we saw die was, you know, a pair of T1 cruisers that got caught right at the start because they walked in at 0, and 1 Brutix after getting hammered on for about 4 minutes. That's a really impressive way to play this game, especially versus the amount of catch potential that comp from 7 has. Those Vindy webs are incredibly potent. They can web you down to 90%, so 10% of your original speed.
Yeah, those Vindy webs may have contributed to the death of the Brutix, but I mean, there's probably only 1 or maybe 2, or I mean, I had to push maybe 3 on the Vindy. So if everything gets out of range, I mean, they primary the Brutix. By the time they finish killing the Brutix, everything is out of range. And as V0LTA win the match, I think we're going to send it back to the studio.
I know how to name drop too.
Name drop too. Name drop too.
Sergeant, I would say it wrong. Patrick Archer, Harvey Skywalker, CCP, good at me, and I'll say it correct the first time, and then after that I'll mispronounce it. Yeah.
Hey guys, V0LTA taking that victory super comfortably there, bringing, as Jintan referred to, as the modern version of the Octodad comp. Just a super high DPS team, right in at 0, 1 frigate logistics ship, and then just trouncing all over the SE7EN-SINS team. I mean, Laz, what did you make of that match?
That was a crazy match. I mean, I'm all for high DPS setups and just in your face like that. And Bart and I were actually talking about this morning that we thought that the 8 battlecruiser comp wasn't actually going to make it, and you see that it's not actually 8 battlecruisers. They made a little variation of it, but you saw the heavy assault cruisers, which have the ADC now, which is a huge buff to those ships, and they just pulled off fantastically. The piloting skills of that Brutix going out and pulling those drones away, it was just all really well done.
Now, I do have to apologise briefly, because where are my manners? Let me introduce you to our latest guest here on the desk. This is Black Bart Pirate, all the way over from the United States of America. The Colonials are coming back. I'm feeling outnumbered. It's slightly concerning. How are you, Bart?
I'm doing very well. I've been watching the matches out in the studio, and it's been pretty cool. It's kind of about what we expected today, where it's just everything's crazy, and we're seeing all sorts of different stuff. So new rules are pretty awesome, and loving it so far.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of the meta starting to evolve. Teams, you can tell some teams are definitely still avoiding bringing their like A game. They're bringing their sort of like A-B game at the moment, just trying to make sure they don't give away too much too early. Although that potentially Neo Octodad that we just saw could be super strong going forward, and I expect that's one of those comps that we'll start to see really being affected by bans as teams get afraid of it and start to move things out. Now, we have a couple of graphs that we can start to show about some of the matches we've already done, but before I show them up, I want to just tell you a stat that's been passed to me by our stat man, Alexei, which is the fastest ship of the tournament so far. Anyone want to take a guess what it might be?
Fastest ship.
Give you a clue. The first and second fastest ship were the same and in the same match.
Oh. See, I was going to say the Synesis.
It was, yeah, it's a little tackle.
Yeah.
It is the Griffin, the brave Griffin going fastest at 5,154 meters per second. Gotta go fast.
Yeah,
Gotta go fast. Right, so graphs. Put them on the screen. Let's have a look at these graphs. So the first graph, I believe, is the flagship graph. No, sorry, it's the best performance wins picks, and we have different types of shield and Lynx bursts. So looks like information burst is that really important one to have. That's probably due to the ECM. Obviously, ECM in a tournament environment, super, super powerful. But, I mean, what else do you make of this, Sayer Laz?
Well, I mean, with information, you also have the lock range, lock speed. I mean, it's a really, really good buff for the tournament because whenever you warp into the arena, you aren't allowed to lock anything. You can't start any modules. So a lot of it comes down to, especially with ECM comps, is who locks the fastest, who can get those initial jams out. So if it's Griffin versus Griffin, who's going to be able to get that initial jam and then give that huge advantage? So I definitely say the information bursts are most important for the tournament. And then you have your shield and armor burst, which is going to be tank related. And we have seen a few more shield teams this tournament than armors so far in the first day. So logically, they would be higher.
Yeah, and obviously skirmish bringing up the rear there as everyone deeming, as you said, information more important than tank. And I guess if you've got room, you squeeze those skirmish bursts on. Something that you can do with the sort of Neo Octodad with all those linked ships, especially command destroyers as well. It's a lot harder to do that kind of stuff this year because of the one ship rule, which is new this year. Bart, just quickly run us by what that rule is again.
Yeah, so every single year we slowly reduce the amount of ships that you can bring of the same type. Several years ago we could bring 3 of the same ship name. Last year and the year before was 2. This year we can only bring 1. So, you can bring one. You could bring 1 Deimos, 1 Thorax, and 1 Phobos, which are all the same sort of general hull shape. But you can only bring 1 of each. You can't bring like 2 Thoraxes or 2 Phobos. And this is the first year I think we've been restricted to that level, which is why we're seeing so many interesting team comps. I think we've seen very few mirror or even like remotely similar ones. Like we already saw Shield Tinker today. We've seen some Rapid Lights. We've seen Flag Killers modified. So it's already just been crazy.
But we have not seen drones yet.
We have not seen drones. I think there might have been a drone team that had the capability of it, but I don't think they actually fielded drones. They just died.
Yeah, drones. We talked about this, I think, the other day. Drone ships are much more affected by the fact that you can only bring 1 of each because there's simply just less of them. Yeah. So you can easily ban that out and you can make it really difficult. I mean, Laz, if you're bringing a drone comp, what's the ships you want to bring? Well,
I mean, the backbone of it is typically the Ishtar, or if it's Shield, you have the Gila. I mean, so if you ban those key ships, then they have to try and find something to slot in. And I think we before the tournament we're doing it, and I think you can actually field proper drone comp, but if anything gets banned, it just doesn't work. And the fact is that you can't bring Tech 2 drones this year, so only Tech 1, and that's a huge nerf to the actual comp itself when it comes to the damage output.
Yeah, so I'm going to see if we can get the graph up now of flagship. I think it's flagship picks that the graph is about. So we'll see if that comes up imminently. So let's all stare expectantly at the screen. There we go. Oh, it's picks and wins by ship class. Interesting. So
you're 0 for 2 right now.
I'm 0 for 2.
0
yeah.
for 2. I just want to put that out.
Yeah. So thanks for highlighting that, Laz.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that.
You mean Elise?
Oh, sorry. Yes, Elise Randolph. I really should stop referring to you by your other name, Laz. You're definitely Elise. Not very many industrial picks. Again, I think that's going to be the sleeper hit of the tournament.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we saw that Badger. I think you can just about see that 1 point is not right at the bottom. So that Badger is included in this graph. I would like to put a message out to all the teams that I want to see this much more rounded by the end of the tournament. I want to see much more industrial ships. So cruisers and frigates are being picked a lot more than destroyers. Bart, break that down for me. Why is the destroyer not as popular as either the cruiser or the frigate?
I think that the best destroyers are going to be the command destroyers and T3 destroyers. And the thing is that the points of T3 destroyers and the introduction of the assault damage control on assault frigates means that there's not really a reason to bring T3 destroyers as opposed to, a year or 2 ago where Svipals are still very good ships. I wouldn't say they're overpowered that they used to be, but versus let's say a Retribution, which you will never ever kill, or any, I think we saw an Inyo today. So there's not really a reason to bring destroyers for tackle because they're slower and they actually tank less thanks to assault damage controls. And since you can only bring 1 of each command destroyer, and there's only 2 command destroyers per different Logi types, you're probably only going to see maybe 2 a match, maybe even 1. And I guess there's been a few where we haven't seen any because you can just put them on battlecruisers. So
Have we seen that many assault frigates? I think, as you mentioned,
I've
the one
seen
in
a few.
but for the main arena, I don't think there's been that many.
There's been a couple in the off arena that's been
Yeah.
going on. And I think this is both of them. And yeah, we did have the one Badger, and I think he actually won. So far, Industrials are 100%.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Is that Tinker Cop? It was
Yep.
really creative.
Tinker Badger
Yeah.
ready
Tinker
there, just in
Badger.
case they run out of cat boosters. It's like, I got you guys.
So coming up shortly, we're going to have the match between Offsound Mind and Phage and Terror. Phage and Terror have a Leshak as their flagship, but they have no AT history, so they're a new team to the tournament. Offsound Mind did compete last year. They went 1-2, ranking in at 38th overall, defeating Razor, but losing to two pretty good teams, Shadow Cartel and Thermodynamics. Which is now Barcode. Shadow Cartel are now dead. Well, in the process of being dead. So we'll see if they come back. Good luck. But they managed to make it through the feeder rounds last year, which is worth giving them a lot of credit for because the feeder rounds were just brutal. Like the teams that made it through that, I have like a lot of respect for because that was hard work. So the fact that they're still not like a solid tournament team, we haven't seen them do particularly well, but they've got some pedigree. So I think, and they're bringing a rattlesnake actually, one of only 2 rattlesnakes in the tournament.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like I said, they're coming in with at least the feeder rounds under their belt, and you have Phage and Terror, which we have not much information at all on, and they've never been in the tournament. So just that little bit of experience does make a huge difference, and just having to experience going warping in, not activating modules. I mean, it's all little stuff that all adds up to the whole package.
Yeah, so the teams are in the arena and warping in just now. So let's do a quick round of predictions before we hand over. It is worth noting, you should be on the stream also joining in the predictions. There's a prediction tool, you can click on it, you can say who you think is going to win, and you have a chance of winning 500 Muplex, all for you. You buy nice ships, it'll be great. All you have to do is pick correctly, and then we draw one of the random ones from Cribba's dice, and then we just give you money. So that's a pretty good deal. But anyway, quick. I'm going to go off Sound Mind. Laz?
I'm going to roll a dice. Phage and Terror.
Phage and Terror.
I want to go for Phage and Terror as well. So
The Americans
Good
are
luck.
rebelling. Please send help. Good luck, guys in studio.